It's time for Drummer Nation. Vocalist Cathy Rich, daughter of the great jazz drummer Buddy Rich, began her career as a child singing with her father's band. Honoring his wish for the band to continue, she and her husband, drummer Gregg Potter, record and tour running today's Buddy Rich Band. Gregg began his career after winning a national drum contest in his hometown of Chicago. Tasked with the challenge of filling the chair of arguably the world's greatest drummer, Gregg responded with keen understanding of big band jazz and a great sense of humor. My far-ranging and fun-filled interview with them both, next on Drummer Nation.
Our latest innovation has opened the door for all drummers to have the same access as top musicians in the world. Custom cymbals. Now available to everyone. Your next sound just got more interesting. Sabian Custom Shop.
Hello everyone, my name is David Victor. I'm General Manager with the Craviato Drum Company. We wanted to offer a one-ply, solid shell product, but we wanted it to stay true to our mission of offering handmade drums of uncompromised quality built here in the USA. So take a listen to our Center Stage Series drum set.
Memphis Drum Shop is the world's premier provider of percussion instruments. With 6 showrooms of gear, mycymbal.com, the Memphis Gong Chamber, and a first-rate repair department, turn to Memphis Drum Shop for all your percussion needs. Welcome again to Drummer Nation. I have as my guest Cathy Rich, daughter of the legend, and her husband Gregg Potter. Welcome to both of you, and thank you for doing my show again.
Again, great to be here with you again.
We did it a few months ago, which is why we're smiling, and the gods were not with us on the technical side of
we got
things.
a new
the audio video gods.
Yeah, we've got a new computer and new teeth since the last time we talked. Look at that.
New teeth?
Well, yeah, I sold my other ones to buy.
You sold the liver to get some teeth.
No, I sold my teeth originally to buy 40 rolls of toilet paper. That was like back in April or something. And then I got the toilet paper, and then
and teeth.
We ended up not really needing that much toilet paper. I resold that, and I got teeth.
There you go.
Kathy's actually, these are my old teeth around her neck.
It's funny because we did this a few months ago, and we were like, well, by the time this airs, we'll be over this. But
yeah.
We're not. Anyway, the first thing I mentioned the last time was I had run into you guys when Cathy, you were doing a birthday party online on Facebook.
Yes.
And I thought what a great idea that was. You had champagne and cake, and all your friends could drop in. I'm gonna follow that. Yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing.
Yes, I think it's a great. I mean, you have to do everything virtually at this point. You can't really. I mean, then we couldn't. Now I've been around other people, and we do venture out now. And Illinois is pretty open as far as restaurants and bars. We don't really go to bars, but I went to my first restaurant in 6 months the other day. So that was like, wow.
That's going to work out because my birthday is next Wednesday. I don't know when you'll have this thing up online, so maybe it'll be after that. But August 19th, I share my birthday with drumming great Ginger Baker.
Oh, well.
Drumming legend
birthday.
John Stamos.
Drumming legend?
Oh. He's not
Acting former Beach Boy legend, I guess.
Person.
Deep Purple lead singing icon
Ian Gillan.
Now
you're talking.
Jazz saxophonist, and what else did that guy do? Ooh, Bill Clinton.
Oh.
All on August 19th.
He did a few other things. I think he did a few other things.
What did he do?
I don't know.
So this isn't an interview, it's a comedy show, and I just tag along for the ride.
Well, you're going to edit this stuff out anyway, right?
Hopefully.
Probably not. I hope not.
Oh, great.
We just get in trouble all over the world.
I want the real Monty with you guys, man. I don't want the edited version.
Okay.
So the last time we started, I think I mentioned that both of you must have in common a lot of courage, a lot of confidence, a lot of moxie. Because I remember, Cathy, seeing you as a little girl singing with your dad's band. First of all, I got to spend a second giving it up for Buddy. I think your father was one of the preeminent musical geniuses of the 20th century, regardless of instrument. And I'll challenge anybody on that.
Yes,
and
I don't think anyone would argue about that.
No, and the hell with them if they do. But you came up at a very young age and decided, or your dad decided, it'd be a great idea for you to sing with a band. How old were you?
Well, when we started talking about it, I was 11.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of went down the road. He was deciding on material for the next album. And so by the time I turned 12, we had kind of come up with the idea, which he did actually, about redoing The Beat Goes On, which was on the radio at the time. So he had heard me singing it in the car and said, you need to do that with the band.
But he kind of sprung it on you last minute that you were going to be recording like that night, right?
Well, it was odd because we were living in Las Vegas, and he asked me to fly to LA, which I did, and I thought we were driving to a recording studio, and we were driving to a nightclub, and I said, why are we stopping here? And he said, we're recording tonight. And I said, here? I thought we were going to, I freaked out. I said, you want me to sing in front of people? So
her father was much nicer to her than, say, Ryan O'Neal was to Tatum O'Neal. I like to make a lot of references from the early 70s. No, so
what does that have to do with anything?
Well, because she was driving in the car with her father, and it came on the radio that she was in a film called Bad News Bears.
Right.
And he was in a film called, is it Barry Lyndon?
Yeah. Oh, that bombed.
Okay.
He was mad at her because her
Well,
film
yeah,
did
because
better?
on the radio, as they drove, the radio
Did he
guy.
punch her?
Yes.
Oh,
so
wow.
so the radio guy goes, the
Jeez.
number one movie this week is Tatum O'Neal. I wonder how Dad feels about that. And I guess Tatum made like a, hey father, my movie's bigger than yours. Crack.
Wow. No, I never got that.
Okay, so there you go. So Buddy Rich was much nicer than
Much
Ryan
nicer.
O'Neal. You
There you
learn
go.
things right here.
I
You
think
learn
Buddy was
things
pretty
right away.
Buddy was pretty confident that he had no competition anywhere.
Yeah, pretty much.
Then again,
Yeah.
Kathy didn't play the drums.
There you go. If I was another drummer, maybe he would have punched me.
Maybe. So you're 11 years old and too young to fortify yourself with a few drinks. And
Right.
who
But
was in the
although he did
audience?
say I was 12 years old and drunk on the recording.
Okay, so maybe, but that was true. Maybe Tatum O'Neal was drunk.
Or maybe she was there.
Ouch. I don't know. I
And
have to ask.
who was the great singer in the audience that sort of encouraged you?
Well, of course, first of all, when I got into the club, I ran to the dressing room hiding because I said, I can't do this. And then I walked back out into the club, and the first person I see sitting exactly where the vocal mic was standing was Judy Garland. So if I wasn't freaked out then, I literally hid under the desk in the office of the club.
So you've got to
So
sing with Buddy Rich and a band full of monsters
here
and
it is.
Judy
Yeah, this is
Garland.
what's good about doing interviews with us at our home. I could take pictures right off the wall.
This is the night.
Okay.
Wow.
So here's-
Make sure not to cover Kathy's face.
Okay.
So,
So
Okay.
that's Judy's mink coat.
wait. Yeah. There's Judy. Yeah. There. She's got her arm right around Judy's knee right there. See the mink coat is right here.
Yeah.
Kathy's got her arm around her knee, so she must be sitting right here, like with a couple of munchkins.
Right.
She's probably sitting like right there.
And then
Okay. And then
Oh,
now, Buddy's fixing the mic stand for you.
yes.
yeah.
And then I did it. And look at his face.
Yeah, he's proud as he can be. Good for
So
you.
it went from not doing it, I can't do it, and Judy said, bring her over here and let me talk to her. So I sat next to her, and she said, gave me some words of wisdom that obviously worked. And I
What
went
did she
up and did it.
say? Do you remember what she
She
said?
said, never be intimidated by anyone or anything,
There you go.
and just get up and do what you do.
And that worked for you in the moment?
It worked, and another woman, great artist, actress, said the exact same words to me. I was getting ready to go on and do a television show, and standing in the wings, and she was standing next to me, and I was like, I'm really nervous. And she said, never, ever be nervous. Nerves mean that you're doing something right.
Tell us who that person was.
That was Betty Davis.
There you go.
So I've had some
So-
pretty good mentors along the
Yeah.
So
way.
you really can't talk to her before a gig because what she's going to say to you, show me your Academy Award, sing me somewhere over the rainbow.
go.
I mean, you really can't tell her anything. You can't even tell her
I've
what.
had some good
What?
experiences with some amazing artists they basically all say the same thing, is that you should never let, if that's what you want to do, you never let anything on the outside intimidate you. Because if that's really in your heart and you want to do it, you can't let anyone else tell you you can't do it.
What did Anthony Perkins say to you?
I didn't say anything to him.
What did you say to Anthony
I
Perkins?
didn't say it. Someone else said it.
These two geniuses, Buddy Rich is the guy who...
So Anthony Perkins, who we know was Norman Bates in Psycho, right?
Right.
And as it turns out, the end of Psycho, Norman Bates is his mother. So,
if you've seen, this is like, what do they call that? When you're giving it away, what's
Right.
the spoiler alert? But at the end of Psycho, you find out
that he was in
That's
his
okay.
mother.
We know that. It's an old movie.
Okay.
It's okay.
So we were doing the Mike Douglas show. I was with a singing group, and it was Michelle Hendricks, who was the daughter of the great John Hendricks of Lambert, Hendricks, and Ross.
Mhm.
So one of her favorite movies was Psycho. And Anthony Perkins happened to be a guest on the show that day. And he was sitting in the green room, and Michelle Hendricks walked up to him and she said, "Is it you or your mother?" And he looked at her like she was completely out of her mind. He had no idea what she was talking about and just kind of looked at her and shook his head. And she went, "Sorry," and walked away.
There you go.
And that was it.
No
So they were
sense of
never
humor.
asked back to that
We
show
were never asked
again.
to go to Anthony's house. Let's put it that way.
Oh, well.
That happened to one of my friends.
Okay, moving on.
Land this plane. A lot of
Land
Anthony
the plane.
Perkins. No, but he's one of those in the 80s, and he's walking on Mulholland. A guy in a powder blue or pink Thunderbird.
Yeah.
He's hitchhiking, walking. Rolls the window down. Goes, "Do you want to ride?"
Anthony Perkins?
Anthony Perkins picks my friend up and drives. He said, didn't say a word to him. Got in the car, didn't say a word. Drove him to wherever he was going. Let him go. I'm just telling you. You thought this would be a drumming story. This has
nothing to do with drums.
Nothing to do with drums. Because what are we
That's
going to
all
talk
right.
about?
I'm still
Buddy
afraid
Rich
to
is the
take a
best.
shower from that movie. So, Kathy, as a girl, you had been doing some singing, I presume,
Yes.
right? Tell me
Yes.
about that. Did you study or go through school choirs or ensembles?
Always. As soon as there was a singing program anywhere, I was part of it. I started singing when I was little. I sang the entire score of West Side Story. I used to do it I sang every part, kind of like Jesus Christ Superstar. I could sing that whole score. In any case, yes, I was always singing from the
So you wanted
time
to
I
be
could first remember.
wanted to be a singer. Go ahead.
Yeah. I always knew that I wanted to sing. Always. It was something that I did from the time I can remember first talking. I was always singing. And so when it came time to go to school, if there were chorus programs or choir programs or whatever, I was always involved in that. Always. Up through high school, and then after that, I just started singing, professionally. I was singing in New York. I was singing, that was it. I just always was singing to this day.
Greg, you share some of that, Moxie, because you had to step into the Buddy Rich Band. And that strikes fear in the hearts of college students and even professionals everywhere to this day. Now, you came up as a drummer too, right? You had some education as a player?
Yes, but at no point in my career did Judy Garland ever show up at my house in a mink coat. And
Hopefully not.
driving around with my dad, he just said, "Are you going to come sell car parts with me?" So, we had different conversations.
You actually went to music college.
Yes, I did. What I'm talking about, when you hear her stories, it's kind of like, I wanted to sing. Okay, good. So what was the gal that your dad drove you on a scooter to go and sing? Like
The Count Basie Band and Ella Fitzgerald and Dinah Washington.
Yeah, imagine that's your upbringing. It's like.
But I have to tell you something funny, that I was about, I think, between like 4 or 5 years old.
And Buddy drove
he drove me on a Vespa across the Brooklyn Bridge to go to see the Basie Band in the rain. I was standing between his legs. And he's driving. And so we get there, and it was Lambert, Hendricks, and Ross were on the bill.
Right.
Dinah Washington, I think Ella. And so I met Dinah Washington for the first time. I was little. And my dad said, "I'd like you to meet Miss Washington." And I said, "Hi, are you any relation to George?"
Well, you were a little girl. That could be
And she was so, my dad just looked like, "Oh God." And she was very sweet. Very sweet.
Okay, so nowhere in my career did my dad take me anywhere like that. Right. Although my dad did take me to see Buddy Rich when I too was you were 5. I was 10 years old, and in Chicago there was a famous nightclub called Mr. Kelly's.
Mr. Kelly's, right.
Where I guess, as I've now that I've met Kathy and some of her, well, I met her and some of her family. I mean, Buddy played Mr. Kelly's like every fourth week he would come back to Chicago.
He loves Chicago.
Whatever. My dad, I remember, my dad woke me up in the middle of the night. It was, I think, only 10 o'clock, but Buddy played late night sets, and my dad did take me to see the great Buddy Rich. So it was.
You went to music college?
Much later. This is at 10 years old.
Right. Later on, you were talking about how you evolved.
But I evolved right. So I was always a drummer as a youngster. I was a drummer, I mean, I was started even younger than I am now.
Really?
Yeah. So
but when you were coming up as a kid, you had like a heavy foot, I understand.
A heavy foot? That's why you took your foot.
Obviously, you've spoken to to my one band director that I was just talking to you. I was telling this story to somebody. I was telling you. Yes. So, yes, growing up, though, and then Buddy Rich being your hero, but that's kind of like getting your first speeding ticket and saying, yeah, John Force is my hero. You don't have race car drivers as you don't have Buddy Rich as your hero as a coming up drumming. Buddy, he keeps that four on the floor, throughout all his things, but he knows how to feather that bass drum. And, whereas a kid, you just hear someone banging that bass drum. So I did that. I think I would have been in high school. And, the band director proceeded to tell me that if I continued to hit the bass drum in that manner, that he would tape my leg to the throne. Now, if that were to happen, well, yes, of course he did.
He actually did it?
Well, no, he just, if he heard the bass drum foot again, I was only supposed to use it to accent. I would say I'm accenting the whole song, man. Check this out.
That's not appropriate.
But then as time went on.
Luckily, he hadn't seen Whiplash, so
I hadn't seen Whiplash yet.
He had slapped you. Or
no. The teacher, he didn't do that.
And that's a little over the top.
But then let's fast forward a couple of years from high school to the Buddy Rich band, and we went to Japan. And as a special guest, we had Mr. Peter Erskine. He knows a few things about feathering a bass drum too. So we do the sound check, and you kind of get that, that Peter Erskine look, because sometimes he gives you the look and then he tells you one of the funniest rotten jokes you've ever heard in your life, or sometimes he looks at you and goes, "Hey, Potter, you might want to feather that kick drum a little bit. You seem a little heavy on that." Because, the more wound up I get. Yeah, it's a long time ago. And Japan was actually, I think, our second gig. First, we played the London Palladium. That joint was so big that I could have lived in the bass drum and people would say, "I don't hear it yet." But in the Japan gig was at the Blue Note, Tokyo, smaller place, whatever. But Peter's he goes, "No, I like the energy, and that's what you need," because that's another thing, too. If you bang on that bass drum with a trio, you're going to have a problem. But remember, I am in front of 18 guys. It's called a big band for a reason, whatever. And he just said, you might want to keep that in mind. So maybe I should have taken a little more.
You have since.
Oh, gosh, yes. I've been beat up by
many people.
Peter Erskine, Dave Weckl, Steve Smith. They've all told me to shut the F up.
No, they haven't. But that's what I was getting at when I said about having such courage and confidence. You've had to face that. I mean, you've had to sit in the chair of the Buddy Rich band and drive the bus, oftentimes with other great drummers on the same bill with you.
Oh, yeah.
Many times.
And then the other scary part,
What do you pull out of you? Where do you pull that from? What do you think about when that's happening?
What do you mean, like where I get the courage?
Yeah,
I think it's a lack of brain power. It's because I'm nuts. I mean, I think anyone with
anyone with a real brain
would go no way. So you know what? Maybe because believe me, she asked drummers to come and play. You wouldn't believe the excuses, and you wouldn't believe the list of names that I
crybaby-ishness.
Well, we have one recently. Do not say the name. The guy that's giving the resumes, but I have no time to do it.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Then we had another fella that happened to show up at a gig, and Kathy goes, "Why don't you get up and play a tune?" I mean, because we are pretty open in that.
Oh my gosh!
When you're fronting the Buddy band, you don't stay, it's not like.
And what did he do when we asked him?
He went out, first of all, I don't know. Then he went out to his car and started listening to the tune. By this time, we had already.
We're already gone.
We were already gone and we were gone, but I'm just saying.
He was like so freaked out and nervous.
I don't know. And it's like,
just get up and do it.
Get up and play through the tune, because no one's going to do it like Buddy, and no one is.
And that's not why we started doing this in the first place.
So that's how I think I'm getting away with where we're selling it, and it's happening, because in no way do I think I got this,
No.
or no. What we want to do is just bring Buddy, bring him. I mean, the YouTube videos and the stuff, I mean, you could still purchase DVDs and stuff. That keeps Buddy out there, but there's nothing like seeing that band, because realistically, we have the alumni players. So you're getting the men that played with Buddy, because unfortunately, you're just not going to dig up Buddy. But he's not coming back. And no matter if you get, whoever the greatest drummer of the time, none of these men ever
can be Buddy, right?
Can be Buddy. They play great, and they play great.
And there's a lot of great drummers.
There are a lot of great drummers. These men.
In every genre. There's great drummers.
Yes. But I play with this Buddy Rich band.
I have a Peter Erskine story about our mutual friend Peter Erskine. I was watching him doing a Buddy Rich tribute with a bunch of alumni. And I came up to him afterwards and I said, I know he's a baseball fan. I said, Peter, you knocked it out of the park. He said, 2-base hit. In other words, even he was paying homage to that. Like, that's Buddy's chair.
Well, even like, I mean, we've had many.
You've
and
had
no
all
one
of
has
your
ever
shows.
said, oh, yeah, I nailed it. Nobody.
No.
Everybody always has,
you
they always, but that's great. It
Yes.
should be like that.
Yeah,
Nobody should
absolutely.
walk away going, oh, I nailed it. It was perfect. I mean, anyone,
No, you can't
in
do
whatever
that.
you do, you're always going to have room for another day when you can do it better.
Now, let's talk about why there is the Buddy Rich band now. This was a promise you made to your father, right?
Yes. Yes, he asked me to, try to keep the band working, try to keep the music heard, and to do something for young people, because that was a thing with him, which is why he had young guys in the band, and he was all about youth and paying it forward, and not resting on your laurels, and always giving back to the world. I mean, that was his thing, and it took a long time, to figure out how to do that. We started with the memorial concerts, which were, hugely successful. And, we did that for 20 years. But having the band out on the road was really the thing that he wanted. And, until, Gregg and I started talking about it 10 years ago. And we decided, let's just, play with it. Let's see if let's go into a studio. We'll put some guys together, go through a couple of tunes and see. Just see. And we did that. And it sounded great, and we put it up on Facebook that we had been in the studio, and an agent got in touch with us and said, you want to go on the road? And that was how it started.
Right. And it was, too, Cathy wanted the vibe of it. I mean, because like she had said, 20 years of the Buddy Rich Memorial Concert, she has certainly had the greatest drummers of our time, I mean,
All of them.
Even
There's
back.
nobody that we haven't.
Yeah, you had Louis Belson, you had Ed Shaughnessy. I mean, you even had him
Everybody.
early,
Yes.
all the way up to Vinny and, all the greats.
Rock guys, jazz guys.
But I'm saying
everybody.
none of them ever, some of their scenes are so big, it becomes a drum clinic with a band playing with it. And Cathy didn't want that, you know.
It had to be the right mixture of, because Buddy was a showman. Not only was he a genius musician, but he was a showman. He wanted people to, walk away feeling better than when they walked in. So he would stand down and talk, and he was the funniest guy that you'd ever want to listen to. I mean, he just had a way about him. And that was part of the magic. And so when we started doing this, I mean, Gregg's a funny guy. And, he would come down front and just start stream of consciousness. And it was pretty funny. And people were, I don't think that people can believe that we pull it off the way we do, right? Because we have all the alumni guys, we have the charts, we've got you walk in and it looks like you're waiting for Buddy to come out because the stage looks like how it looked.
And then I show up, so I just ruin it.
No, you don't.
But
One thing I want to.
But that, you know, with the comedy aspect and just having fun with the crowd, and you know, that's really it's the vibe of it, you know, and that's what we wanted to bring to it.
Well, one thing I wanted to point out is it's not a tribute band. You're not there to reproduce solo by solo.
Oh,
it's a jazz band, man. It's
a jazz band, and
it's different every
is
night.
being played right then. It's nothing that's been, you know, manufactured or play Steve Marcus's solo from 1986. No. Nothing like that.
That's what I meant. Now,
but sometimes we do ask Bob Bowlby to play the Bob Bowlby solo.
No,
he doesn't play the exact solo. But we have a lot of the real guys. So when Bob Bowlby plays, it sounds just like the record.
He wouldn't even remember what the real solo was.
But we ask him to play it, and he does. Whereas if someone were to say, "Greg, could you play the solo just like Buddy?" You get a simple no right away. Because you just can't. Nothing sounds like that, man. Yeah. And it's just, but no, we're not trying to, it's not a tribute in that, although we will try to make a tribute to, like she said, the stage looks, we have.
You want it to look like how it looks.
The music stands that he had.
That's fine, yeah.
Yeah, the drum, Ludwig
it just looks beautiful. The stage looks great. And, you know, people will have told us, I mean, they walk into wherever we're playing, and I've had people just, like, be crying by the end of the set, not because of you, but because they walked in and it was like they had gone back in time.
Right, people. That part of it, I will agree. I mean, I've seen it. And that is kind of what we wanted, because we kind of look at it too, or I certainly look at it. She grew up with it, but as say a young man like myself. As a kid, like when you went to see Buddy Rich, like back in the day, if you went to see a rock group, you saw him at a stadium somewhere, and you never got close to see the drummer from Kiss. You know what I mean? He was so far away, but you still went home and said, "My God, I was in the stadium with 21,000 people. I saw it." But when Buddy, you used to get. I saw him at high schools. I saw him at that clubs when I was a kid. So that drum set was like, I don't know, maybe. Right in front of you. So, and when he came out and that man was right in front of you doing it, like when you go to a live sporting event, when you really saw Michael Jordan run by you and shoot it, it was different than seeing it on TV. So I'm saying, land that plane already.
Please.
My God, analogy after analogy.
Now, sports analogies?
You go to a racing event and the man drives the car by.
It's overwhelming is what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying when really there in front of you.
Yes.
And I got to see it many times.
The drums are there. And the stage set up, the alumni band, and the beautiful Cathy, and then you get this. Little Elvis comes out.
Well, let me ask you a few other things. Kind of bouncing around between talking about you guys and talking about Buddy. One of the unique things about Buddy that you can't say about many artists, Buddy came to fame in the 20s. He was a star drummer in the 30s. But arguably his best work, I mean, the Sweets were in the 60s. And all the work after that, I think he just kept getting better and better the older he got. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
It never got to the point where you were like,
right.
Maybe he should stop. He was getting better. If you listen to that last recording that we just released last year, Just in Time, that was his last performance at Ronnie Scott's in London. And when you hear his playing on that recording, it's unbelievable. He was actually getting better as he was getting older.
I wanted to ask you that. That's one with Wind Machine as the first track?
Yes.
Man, I heard that and I was crying. I couldn't get on.
Absolutely.
It's so sharp and crisp and on top of it and unbelievable,
That band was like a laser beam. There it is. Yes.
So that's the recording you guys produced of one of his last performances.
Yes. This is an example of, because how many times can you use the word perfection? I mean, this man's playing on this record or this recording, and this would be approximately 5 months before he passes away. So I'm saying there's no sense, whereas like you were saying, Buddy in the 30s, 40s, 50s, amazing. Up until the man was saying, "I'm done. I'm just done." If you get this and you're able to listen, or listen to it however you can listen to it. Listen to Buddy's. Just listen to the playing, the choices, the tone.
Everything was just. It's like when worlds collide and everything comes together at one moment in time, and it's absolutely perfect. That's it.
But he was doing this night after night, even up and
But thank God somebody thought to record it.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back to that in a second. Kathy, back to you. I wanted to point out Buddy was also, we don't have that much today, but Buddy was a celebrity, a true celebrity, where people knew, if you didn't know drums, you knew who Buddy Rich was. The average housewife in a mall in Des Moines would know it was Buddy Rich.
Correct. Yes.
Right? And I don't know that we have any of that anymore. But you grew up in a celebrity household as well, right? Because these people were all his friends.
Yes. I mean, he wasn't a showbiz guy, whereas meaning he didn't go to cocktail parties and he wasn't hanging out. He wasn't, but the people that he came up with, the Sinatras, you know, Sammy, all the greatest of the great, you know, Ella, I mean, every possible great entertainer in the world was his friend. And so, yes, I got to mingle and know and have those people around. And for me, it was just, you know, that's who they were, his friends, you know, but it was an interesting way to grow up.
What was that? What was the party?
Yes.
Who was it for that they had come to America for the first time? Was it not
the Bee Gees?
The Bee Gees came to America and they
had a list of who they wanted to meet when they came to America. and Buddy was one of them.
So Kathy went.
So I said, you have to. He's like, oh, I don't want to go to this party. I'm like, I was like, I don't know, 11, something, 12. And so I forced him to go to this party. And he actually had a good time. It was just he and I, and it was in LA.
Yep.
And Davy Jones of the Monkees was there, so I was all excited about that. So, and there you go.
How about that time you met Adam West, Batman, in the parking lot of the
I've heard of that.
Did you remember that story from her?
I remember that story.
Adam.
All right, never mind.
I love Adam
If you heard that one, then we don't need to pursue that. But I'm saying
Adam apparently liked the young girls too. That's all.
Let's leave it at that. He was a bit inappropriate. Let's leave it at that.
Right.
That would be with my girlfriend. That's okay.
Leave Tom Jones out of it.
Okay.
But there's an example of Buddy being like, how about Kathy's like.
I remember these things. I don't even remember.
Yeah, she doesn't remember these stories, but I have heard them like from her or from her family. You know, like who is your Buddy Rich? Who do you want to sing like? Exactly, Barbra Streisand.
I used to.
Okay. At one point in Kathy's
she was my all-time
favorite.
That was my next question. So you're right where I'm headed. It would
have been Barbara. I mean, from when she was doing Funny Girl through maybe 15 years ago.
Buddy's playing the Grammy Awards with, what was that?
So they did a special on jazz at the Grammys in '86.
So they go to sound check, and Barbara is there. Was she singing or?
She was giving an award.
Whatever, but Barbra Streisand's in the room. Buddy's in the room. Kathy goes, "Hey, Buddy."
I said.
Well, are you going to say it?
Can I talk?
Well, are you going to talk, or are you going to pretend you grew up in Lyons, Illinois? Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Let me tell you. Can I tell you about the time Frank Sinatra came to our house and then made Italian sausage for my father?
Don't make me come over there now, you guys.
Come on.
Okay, then tell the story, though, because these are good stories.
Okay, here's a side of my dad that most people don't know, is that he was very shy inside.
Oh, yeah.
Right? No, he was. He was like always surprised that people knew who he was. And it was very endearing and very sweet. And when we were sitting in the audience watching the Grammy rehearsals, and Barbara walked across the stage. And I was like, oh my God. And I grabbed him and I was like, you have to introduce me to her. And he said, I don't know her. And I said, she'll know you. Let's go. And we got up on the stage, followed her all the way across the stage to the wings where she was getting ready to go out and rehearse her part. And she happened to turn around, and before he could say anything, she said, hi, Buddy.
And knew who he was.
And he was like, see? And then, of course, I turned into a blithering idiot. I can barely say hello. And he's talking to her. She had just done the Broadway album. And he said, I love the Broadway album. And they're talking back and forth. And I was like, see?
And now the first time I met Buddy, we were at Mr. Kelly's. I'm 10 years old. My father is older than me because he's my father. We follow Buddy into the men's room. I don't need to tell you how that went when a grown man walks into a men's room with a 10-year-old boy with another little man, and Buddy didn't take to it too well either. So, see, our stories, Kathy and I, they're similar but different.
Well, I have a story meeting Buddy. I heard him play many times, and once I was a kid and I was backstage, and I couldn't bring myself to meet him. I stood backstage and observed him. I drank in the buddiness, and I thought, what am I going to say? Hey, man, I'm a little kid. You sound, you play good, man. But he had such a presence and such a force about him that it was overwhelming,
And he probably
one of
would
those
have
things
loved to
like,
have met you because he loved talking to kids. He loved talking to teenagers and young kids that would come up. He'd let them sit on the throne, except for you, which is interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say.
Well, you were in the bathroom, though.
It was that bathroom thing. He remembered.
Maybe if you weren't in the bathroom, it would have been.
It was in 10-year increments. I met him in in 10-year increments, and both of my meetings
were not good.
Right, did not go the way that
you hoped.
I hoped, and as I've again talked to the lovely Kathy, I met him under, first of all, right. She said he
not
wouldn't have liked.
Yeah,
he would not have liked to have seen a kid at a nightclub. He would have said, like,
why is
this kid in bed? Because it would have been like probably midnight or 1 a.m. by the time we got there and he played a set.
Yeah, I was in clubs at 10, so whatever.
Whatever. So she goes, I could see why he. And then you followed him into the men's room, and in the men's room you're taking care of
probably
manly business.
Buddy was in clubs when he was 3.
Yes.
There you go.
And maybe that was something that triggered him because he probably didn't think that was the greatest thing in the world.
And then the second time I met him,
working.
Yeah. And then the second time I met him, I was a Slingerland artist, and Buddy was playing Ludwig at the time. But whatever, all the Slingerland execs, because that was right here in Chicago, the company was right in Niles. They all knew him. So can you introduce me? So I'm thinking that's going to be.
There's my in.
There's the in. They're going to, because I'm a Slingerland guy and I'm on the radio every day here in Chicago, and I've got kind of a thing going on. Well,
he was looking for drum heads, though.
Right, but he
out
was
of heads.
Yes. So because you can see the picture, it's in Modern Drummer and stuff. You'll see Buddy's looking away from me because all he was asking, because the guys were from the drum company, but it was a Sunday afternoon. Can you get me some drum heads, man? I need some snare drum heads. I need snare. And he didn't really care to meet anybody, and he certainly didn't care to have these, the vice president of Slingerland introducing an idiot that, and this is our next up and coming, blah, blah, blah. And she says that's one
that
thing.
would be the kiss of death.
Buddy did not
be the next anything.
Buddy did not dig that on any level. Even if you're, I guess, being introduced to Ringo Starr, but even at that point,
No.
he probably would go, is Ringo a nice guy? I'll meet him. But so
he cared more about how you were as a person.
And then I told him I'm really rotten. And then I also told him, you wait 31 years. What I'm going to do to you is going to be even worse. And then he said, and then he just looked at me. Yeah, and then he said, I'm not going to be around anyway. I said, yeah, I'm going to take it out on your favorite. And then he said, leave my wife alone. I said, Marie, I'm gonna be nice to Marie.
And you are.
No, I'm nice to everybody.
Very nice to my mother.
But no, Marie, I've been nice to Marie, and her mother likes me.
Yes,
so
she does.
if her mother liked me, then Buddy would have liked me.
He would have. Once he got
right. I never got to meet him on a nice. It was always. Because you also, when you meet someone like that, right, if they're on a tour bus and they're in the middle of doing 21 dates in a row, sometimes they don't really get, and then they are looking for a drumhead, or they're being introduced to someone that they're whatever, or there's
Okay, you brought up the word I have to bring up now, the tour bus, the bus tapes.
Yes.
The infamous bus tapes. The older I get when I listen to those, I think, Buddy was right. Those were a bunch of kids who weren't doing what they should have done. And when he said, I played with some of the greatest musicians in the world, you play for me or you get out, that's what they needed to hear.
Of course.
Might have been a little gruff, might have been a little rough, but, he was right.
You don't know what had been going on for the week prior or the month prior or what had led up to that moment. Now, to be perfectly honest, I've never heard the bus tapes because whatever. I just chose not to. And that was, it's a minute portion of his personality when he got like that, but there was always a good reason behind it. He never yelled at anybody that didn't deserve it. Let's put it that way. And it's like, if you're not doing your job and I'm paying you and we're out here and I'm busting my butt every single night and you're not giving me 100%, there you go. You're going to hear it.
Exactly. Speaking of busting his butt, my buddy Jeff Hamilton worked with Ray Brown for
Yes.
decades. And
Yes.
Ray did a lot of those Jazz at the Philharmonic tours
Yes,
with
with
Buddy,
Buddy.
which
Yeah.
was a big band full of, just giants of the
Stars.
industry.
Yes.
Stars, right? So as a drummer, those things can go on and on and on. When everybody solos. And
Yeah.
Ray told Jeff, this is second, third hand, I'm presenting this,
Right.
that he thought Buddy was the greatest genius of them all, and that he never, ever, ever let up. He would say, "Come on, Brown, let's get these guys."
Yes. Yes.
And that
absolutely.
intensity he had was unmatched.
And especially with somebody of the caliber of Ray Brown,
Mm-hmm.
So those two were like a perfect timepiece. I mean, you've got Buddy on drums and Ray on bass. I mean, it's not going to be better than that.
But it ties into the bus thing where you play with me, man, or you get off the stage.
And I will tell you that now, all these years after Buddy's been gone, and I'm still friends with most of the guys that were in the band, and there were many because, he changed people up. If it wasn't sounding the way he wanted it to sound, he would make changes. And not one of those people will say to me that wasn't the greatest experience they have ever had musically, in a learning capacity, learning how to become the best player that you can be, and that they're all very sort of, they stand up for him when other people who weren't around, because there's a lot of people on the internet that like to spout off as if they were there or as if they knew him. And 99.9 of those people have no clue what they're talking about. And so these people will pop up and come to Buddy's defense and say, "Hey, you have no idea. I was there. I stood next to him every night for 2 years, and it was the greatest thing that I ever did in my life. And there's not been anything to compare in all these years." So that's a pretty high amount of praise for somebody that for one moment was caught on tape, being upset with the band.
Sure, yeah.
That's it.
And you mentioned along the lines of that intensity and you being there, because I asked you about this before.
Yeah.
You were gracious enough to answer it. We've heard the story of Buddy having a heart attack. There's a video of it.
Yes.
On stage, playing the drums, and he finishes the song.
Yes. It's crazy.
I can't
Yeah,
get
we were.
that. You were there, right?
The concert for the Americas in Santa Domingo with Frank Sinatra, and I was sitting right there, and I could see, because number one, it was about 110 degrees outside with humidity. That television lights were about, 1,000,000 watts of lighting, and then he was wearing a wool tuxedo on top of it all. So he's going through, getting through the solo of West Side Story, and I can see, me, because I watch him every night, I can see that there's something's going on. So I ran backstage, and he came off, and the paramedics were waiting, and it was sort of a precursor to the heart attack that he ended up having in '83 and having bypass surgery. But yeah, they were working on him. They wouldn't let me in the dressing room, and they stabilized him, and he was okay. And we went back to our suite, and I slept on the floor next to him because I wanted to make sure he was breathing all night. And the next morning he woke up and he said, "Let's go to the beach." But that was him, and that's why,
Where does that come from, man? I don't know.
It's that ethic that he had from the time he was a child. And, it was all about, if you're going to say that you're going to do something, you have to do it. And, there were no excuses made. There was nothing that, I hurt my toe, so I can't show up today. I've seen him under the worst circumstances physically for a person get up there and play like 150% of anything that no one could touch, and then come off stage and just be, not really doing well.
Well, the apple didn't fall far from the tree. I know you're the same way, right?
But, that's what I learned growing up, and that's what I saw. And all the people that he surrounded himself with were all that came from that same era. So it was like you plow through no matter what. You just don't make excuses, and you do what you do.
Now, how about a book or a movie or anything from either of you?
Both.
That's in the process? What can you tell us
Both are in the
about
process.
That?
Yes, actually.
What can you tell us without having to kill me?
since the last time I talked to you, I don't know if I told you about the movie being in progress, but it's happening.
Great.
So I can't give too many details, but we have a writer on board, producers on board. I can't even tell you the people they're talking about to play him because
she wants it to be Brad Pitt so she could do an audition with him. That's why she's saying, I want Brad Pitt. That's fine because I want Charlize Theron to play Marie.
There you go.
And we're going to interview her right in the dining room, right over there. And she said no. I said, yeah.
I didn't say no. I think it's a good call.
I think Charlize Theron, we make her a little shorter.
She's a little old now for that.
Oh, she is? Okay, she's out. But that's what I was going for.
But we're talking about some pretty incredible people being involved. And the right team finally is together to do it.
Beautiful. I can't wait to
it's going to be spectacular because I wouldn't do it if it wasn't done the right way.
Yeah, she's waiting for, the right group of people. It can't just be.
And it's been at that point a few times. For the past 20 years, we've had several people involved that it looked like it was happening and then didn't.
Right.
And I just, I didn't push it, and we just wait for the right team to come together.
Yeah, but you don't want just like the documentary where everyone says, Buddy Rich was the best.
No.
He was the best.
You need a feature film because his life was so amazing, and most people don't know about the early vaudeville days, and, that in itself is an unbelievable movie, just that part. Mm-hmm. So the fact that he had a career that just went through
those eras.
Right. Pretty much spanned the entire history of popular music.
Yeah.
Indeed. Now, there have been some books on Buddy. The Pelly Berglund book of most recent vintage.
Yes.
You familiar with that book? Have you read it?
I did.
Fairly accurate? I had him on my show. He seemed more like a celebrity interview, a celebrity bio, than it was
exactly.
an in-depth look
those kinds of things.
That's not to put him down.
No. And I told him because he interviewed me a long time ago, Pel Berglund.
Oh, yes.
And so I don't know. I think I was just expecting it to be different. That's all. And so when I did read it, I wrote him back and I just kind of said, it's good for what it is, but it's not, nobody who's outside the circle can really know the real stories. So, you kind of get these recycled stories that everybody really knows. And so when I do it, it's going to come from a different place.
Right. But at least if Cathy tells a story, she'll tell you what happened in that elevator. Wasn't it in Dorchester when George Harrison walks in with Phil Spector?
That was another one of those
Cathy
moments.
has a little kid.
No.
Wait, what happened?
I saw George Harrison. We were standing in the lobby, and way after the Beatles, and George Harrison walked in with Phil Spector. And again, I grabbed my father and I said, "It's George Harrison. I have to meet him." He's like, "I don't know him." And I said, "He'll know you." So I made him get in the elevator with George Harrison and Phil Spector.
Yep.
Same thing. George turns around and goes, "Hi, buddy."
There you go. So her stories are good.
And again, I stood there like a dummy.
And said nothing. The man got off the elevator. Right. You could have said, "Hi, I want to hold your hand." You could have said something to the guy.
That's good, Greg. That's good.
I mean, you could have said something. But she said no. Same deal when her and I
turned into a dummy.
We drove for 5.5 hours.
But it ended up okay.
I'll give that story later, but we're friends, or she's friends with Matt Sorum's playing drums with the Hollywood Vampires. And of course, they got the guitar player from Aerosmith, Joe Perry, and Alice Cooper, but there's Johnny Depp in the band. So my movie groupie to my left here, she goes to Matt, "Hey, if we come up there, could we meet Johnny Depp?"
He's like, "Yeah."
So, and Matt's like, "Yeah, sure. Where are you guys at?" We're in Chicago. We're like, they were outside of Detroit or something, in Michigan, 5-hour drive. So we get in the car, we drive 5 hours, get there. Johnny Depp is standing probably
right there,
8 feet away, but that man has like a security guard that stands right with him. I said, "Kath, there he is. Go over there."
I'm not that person.
She would not go over to him and say hello. I can't
walk up to somebody and just be like, no.
Why not, though? I mean, that's...
So I sent you
over.
So
you send me over there. Well, I don't need to... Yeah, you don't send the guy with the...
You are that person.
Yeah, the security...
that person.
Exactly. Security guard
went,
yeah, looks right at me and goes, "Get out of here." He's like, "Johnny's not talking to anybody right now."
He's standing right there.
He's like standing right there. He could in earshot me. Okay, so fast
cut
forward.
to a few years later.
Yeah, a few years later. So 2 years later, would have been last year.
Yes.
We're in LA with our good friend Rod Stewart.
Yes.
See, now it's changed a little bit, because
It's a little different now.
Yeah, we're with Rod Stewart now. And I said,
so we're at his after party.
Right.
And I turn around and there's Johnny Depp.
Depp.
So I said, I am not going to miss this opportunity again. So I said, my manager.
Oh, yeah, still won't go up to this man and talk to him.
I wouldn't go by myself. So Toby goes up and says, blah, 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 and mentions his buddy's name. And Johnny, because he's a very huge fan of
jazz
and old jazz and the whole. He was the nicest, sweetest man you ever want to meet. So it eventually came around. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about doing a couple things.
And it ended up just like that.
There you go.
And then Johnny Depp's right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Kathy still won't stand next to the guy. I mean, there's our manager, Toby, in the middle. There I am. But there's the real Johnny Depp.
Yes, very sweet. And he was very nice.
He was. Oh, wait a second. There's one with there really.
There
she did stand next to him.
I stood next to him.
You got braver there, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, very into
outgoing,
jazz. Yeah, very nice, very nice. So, and then I told him that we drove 5.5 hours to see you, and then she wouldn't even say hello to you.
And then he just grabbed me.
Yeah, then he grabbed her, started hugging her.
It was so crazy. I'm saying I was telling him the story about how we didn't get a chance to meet him the last time, and he just grabbed me and hugged me.
And that's when the story gets a little. You might want to change. You might want to go to a different screen, because then she didn't come home for 3 days. But she said it was okay. I'm just talking business. Because she said, "Hey, if Brad Pitt can't do it, I want Johnny Depp to be Buddy Rich." I said, "Oh, okay."
He would actually be good.
Johnny Depp.
Yeah, he would be good.
He's good at everything.
He really is good,
really
and he kind of metamorphosizes himself, right? Morphs himself.
Then why are you
other
pushing for
things.
Brad Pitt? What's going on?
No, I don't think Brad Pitt's the right.
Well, next time I see Johnny, I'll mention that to him.
Mention it.
Okay, if you could mention.
I think our producer is talking to Johnny.
I hate to drop names. Miles Davis told me not to do that.
Don't do that.
Oh, okay.
Don't you hate those people?
Which one?
The ones that drop names.
Oh, wait, did you want to show pictures? Hold on, I'll show you another one.
No, do not.
Because I actually have my camera up, when we went to see the Hollywood Vampires, they said you can't take any pictures of Johnny Depp.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, Kathy's like, get a picture of him. Get a picture of him. So we're there with Matt Sorum. We asked Matt, we say, "Hey, man, can we take pictures of your drums?" He's like, "Yeah, you can take pictures all night." So I would just wait till Johnny would walk by the drums, and then I'd take a picture of the drums. That same security guard that we met that turned out to be the nicest guy and was our friend.
Yes.
I've got it on. I don't feel like going through it, but it takes actually 4 seconds for him to see the camera go up, to walk up to me with his hand and puts it right on the camera and puts it down. I said, "No pictures of Johnny." Okay, Kathy, that was it. So
that's his job. But Kathy got her picture.
That's his job, exactly.
But we did it.
But we did it. So basically, her and I are two groupies.
There you go.
That's basically
well, you're a bit more than that. Listen, Cathy Rich and Gregg Potter, thank you very much for doing my show yet again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did you not want to ask me about any of my drums or the cymbals or anything?
No.
Yeah, man. I want to know what your favorite snare throw off is, and how many strands the snares are, and what size wing nuts you use. No, I don't want to know any of that.
I just want to know anything about your.
Oh, all right. Well, I didn't know if it was like a drum thing, because I have a vast drum knowledge in this Kanagin. I know.
That's not what this is about. We're just here to kind of get to know each other and let the people see another side of things.
She tries to run everything like it's Match.com. She thinks like a dating
hey, wait
site.
a minute. I do have a question about that. How'd you guys meet?
Match.com.
Yeah,
He came to the memorial concert that I did at the Ritz in New York in '91, and the guys from Modern Drummer actually introduced us.
So you could blame Bobby Berenson and Adam Badowski. They actually introduced me to her.
So we've known each other a really long time.
Right, and then she stalked me for years.
Come on.
I doubt that too.
Yeah, so I met her. So was it '91?
'91.
And then the actual romance, because she was involved with stuff. And I was involved, living with my parents and stuff.
You had other interests, each of you.
Other interests.
There you go.
Right,
I was
exactly.
learning skydiving at the time.
I was living the bachelor life at 56 years old, like that.
30 years ago.
30 years, yeah. Well, but yeah, so we've known each other a long time. So the relationship.
So we were friends first.
Right, we were friends first, and then I just had to make sure it was right before I moved out of my parents' house.
Of course, being so young.
I'm just saying. You know what I mean? I'm not going to give up that parking space for the Porsche. You know what I'm saying? You got to really be having your
Now
laundry.
we're using it as a dining room table.
At this point, yes. But having your laundry done every day and having those,
That's sad.
No, it's not.
Oh, that's sad.
My mother used to take care of business. Those clothes were done and they were set up in colored order. The blue jeans did not touch the black.
Hey, Greg. Kathy's not your mother, bro.
Thank you.
Well, you should explain that to Anthony Perkins, because Anthony Perkins isn't his
That's
mother
all
either. That's not his mother either. No, I know that, but
the friendship part really comes across. You guys are a riot together, and I really appreciate you doing the show. And we're going to look for the movie, the book, the new album, the whole. Well, the book's not. There'll be a book or something, but
there will be a book. Yes.
Okay.
Probably going to get through, and another album. We're in the process of putting together with this band and Gregg.
We'll let you know. We'll let you know when something.
Please do.
Yes, it'll be fun.
But thank you for having
kids.
us.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for everything, and we'll talk real soon. All right.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.